Well, I thought it was going to be a little bit warmer today. All right, well, welcome back to the channel. And today we are going to go over 5 things I like and dislike about the Pocket 3. Now, I've already done a first impression kind of review, that deal once before. This one I'm going to get a little more in depth on a few of the things that really irk me about this camera. And then those other things that just make this camera one of a kind. We are in normal color profile, 10-bit, and I have an 8th black mist filter on it now. I thought the quarter was just a little too soft, but I really like this filter. These are from K&F Concepts. I don't have no affiliate link, but I'll leave a link down in the description below. All right, let's get this started right off the bat here. The first thing that I'm going to talk about is, of course, the field of view. I was watching a video the other day, and it was one of the YouTubers that I watch, and I watch his videos. I kind of like the way he does his videos. And he talked about the field of view was too wide. And I got to thinking about that. It's like, too wide? Unless I hold this thing way out here and stretch out my arm, which I'm old, so my arm gets tired. Yeah, it's definitely not too wide. It's, if anything, it is definitely too tight. Because if I even come in just a little bit like this, then it's just like really too close, up close and personal. And you guys don't want to see this ugly mug anyway. And the next thing is definitely the annoying pop-ups that this camera gives you. Every time you hook up the Mic 2 or you change something or do something, it'll bring up a pop-up that just drives me up a wall. At first I thought, oh, that ain't no big deal. And then after I've used this camera for a while, I'm like, yeah, DJI, you need to get on here, give us a firmware update and make that stop. Or at least have it to where we can toggle it off and on. That would be awesome. Because really, when you think about it, I don't need to worry about that because I can tell the mic's hooked up because I got that little green line up there that's telling me it's recording me. That's why I don't need to see that pop up, or at least have that pop-up come up for just a second or two and then disappear. We're gonna take a walk down by the river, man. I haven't been down here in a while. Let's head down there. And the next thing I noticed is that the gimbal is somewhat restricted. You just really can't turn it too far. I've noticed a lot of times while I'm using this camera, I'll move it the wrong way and it'll give me this warning that the gimbal, whatever they call it, has been reached. It would be nice if this thing just went around 360. I know that's probably impossible, and this is probably just more of a nitpicking type deal, but still, I wish it was a little bit more and I'd stop getting those warnings that I've reached the limits of the gimbal. And the next thing is definitely, and this all goes back to the wide field of view, but the fact that if you put the wide angle lens on here, or a lot of other filters that are made for this camera, that every time you turn it off, you have to take that filter off. This filter right here, this black mist quarter 1/8, there's an 1/8 and a quarter from K&F Concepts. You do not have to do that. So I really like that, because I'll be honest with you, even if I use the wide angle lens, then I'm like thinking, man, I don't want to have to take it off every time I turn it off, because a lot of times if I'm walking around, I might just turn this thing off, throw it in my pocket, leave the Mic 2 on. As soon as I kick it back on, it comes up and gives me that freaking annoying screen again. At least with the Pocket 2, if you put that wide angle lens on it or any other lens, it would just flip it around the other way. I don't know if they could do that with this camera. I guess the reason why they can't, because it would not fit in their case. I don't know. I don't use that case that much anyway, except for to store it in my bag. Other than that, while I'm walking around, I generally just turn this thing off, just throw it in my pocket, and I'm good to go. Check my notes here. All right, so the next thing that really just, I'm just like, man. Now they had that on the Pocket 2. But I'm not sure why they don't have it on this camera. They need to have a small little icon or something up there that you can just hit that and switch from FPV, tilt, and follow mode. it really wouldn't be that big of a deal to do that. Because for me, when I do my B-roll, I definitely like to use all three of those. I'll use the FPV for doing like those tilt shots and stuff like that. I'll do my tilt lock if I'm doing like some slow motion and trying to get some slow motion of people walking by me. I can just hold it down and it'll face that camera forward. I can look at the screen and people don't even realize you have it in your hand. And then follow mode's great for doing pan shots and stuff like that. It would be nice to be able to just do that right up here on the screen instead of having going down a menu and hitting that icon down there and then coming and switching it and all that. If there's a way to do that, somebody let me know in the description below. So far, I haven't figured it out, and I've kind of looked on the internet and I don't hear anybody talking about that. Let's continue on here. We're gonna do the 5 things that I really like about this camera. I know a couple of them are gonna probably be repeated from my first impression and review kind of video I did, but hey, that's life, that's just the way it is. All right, the first thing I wanna talk about, of course, is image quality. You can't beat this camera as far as image quality and the size that it is and what it can do and everything that it brings to the table. The image quality is fantastic. I really have watched a ton of videos of people comparing it to ZV-1s, ZV-E10s, and even full frames. And I really tell you what, this camera can hold its own. Now, I know I complained about it earlier in this video about the gimbal and being somewhat restricted, but also that's also the greatest part about this camera is the gimbal, because it allows super smooth footage and it gives you some unbelievable shots. Like I said earlier, I wish it was a little more, but overall still fantastic. Still makes this camera stand heads and tails above a lot of cameras that have 1-inch sensors in its class. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is the smart gimbal mode. And I know it's for us amateurs, us hacks. I know the professionals don't need it, but hey, us hacks actually do need that smart gimbal mode. It's unbelievable. As I said in my other video, I'm still learning to trust this camera, but more and more as I use this camera, I'm getting to the point where now I just look at the lens and I don't even worry about the screen because I know it's going to keep me right inside that screen and framed perfectly. And that's all part of that smart gimbal mode. Now there's 3 different choices there. For me right now, I'm using the dynamic framing mode, and I tell you what, it's perfect. I really like it. It may kind of bring you over to the side a little bit too much for the rule of thirds, but overall, it's real easy to use and you can actually do it on the fly. So you can be recording and switch over to the other side if you want without an issue, without stopping the recording. Now the next part of this is the base track. And like I just said earlier, I'm really starting to trust this camera more and more to where I don't have to look at that screen because I know it's keeping me in frame. And that's this face track. I mean, you can even turn your head a little bit. I mean, sometimes I think it might be a little oversensitive, but overall, it'll keep right on you, and it'll keep on your face, and it'll keep you in frame. That is something I really like. It is heads and shoulders over the Pocket 2. The Pocket 2, I'll tell you what, that tracking was not all that great, which they could have probably fixed with a firmware update, but you know, they just abandoned that system. Hopefully they don't do that to this one here. And the next thing I like about this camera, number 5, is the stealthness of this camera. I'm telling you what, I can walk down the street. I mean, people will look at me, but they're still kind of wondering what I'm doing or what I have in my hand. They really don't know. Unless you're somebody that follows cameras and know about cameras, you're really not going to know what this is. And I'll tell you what, I was watching, who is it, Camera Conspiracies, and he was doing this slow-mo street videography of people. And I tried some of that. You'll see it pop up on the screen. I tried some of that, and I tell you what, that was a lot of fun because people just didn't have a clue that I was holding the camera and just walking by them. I may have had a few glances here and there, but that was about it. And I was just kind of really super surprised how well it did and how I could just hold it down along my side, headed in tilt lock, and just, it was really, really cool. And I could just walk by people and they just didn't have a clue what I was doing. So there you go. There are some of the things I dislike about this camera, some of the things I like about this camera. Overall, I will definitely be using this camera a lot. It is great just to walk around the downtown area with this camera and just doing vlogs. I'm really enjoying this. I'm having a lot of fun doing these vlogs like this. All right, well, I'm out of here. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you got any questions or any comments, just leave them down there below in the comments section. And then I will catch you next time. Don't forget, subscribe. That button right down there. And if you want to buy my wife a coffee, please do. She needs one bad. I mean, really, really bad. But take care.